In this lesson, we'll cover project information. So you may say, well, what is project information? What does it contain? Well, project information can contain a lot of things. One, it could be the physical project name, address, location, or it could be settings within your project. Now, all of this can be defined or seen on the Manage tab on your ribbon. So let's go to the Manage tab. Over on the left is a Settings panel. This basically controls all of the settings within your Revit project. For example, there's an icon for materials. This is where I can set my materials. I can change materials. I can add materials, change the appearance of the material, even the physical and thermal characteristics of the material that are going to be used for analysis. To the right of that are several icons controlling various styles and formats for elements within Revit. So object styles, this is where I can set my line weight, line color, line pattern, even a material to the different categories of elements inside of my Revit project. Below that, what looks like a magnet is my snap settings. This is where I can tell Revit to turn on various snaps, even setting snap increments and also angular increments. And then we have project information. This is where you can actually set the name of the project, the building, the author, the address, even a project number and a project issue date. You also have an edit button for energy analysis settings. This is where I would set my settings for running future energy analysis on this Revit project. To the right of that are additional icons for project parameters, project units, shared parameters. And then to the right of that are two icons, one for transferring any project standards that you may have changed or set up, such as your types, line weights, materials, where I could transfer them out, basically your CAD standards, and transfer them into another project. And the button below that is Purge Unused. This is where I could thin out my Revit project. If the file gets too large and it has a lot of extra families that I'm not using, I could purge those out to reduce the size of the project and also reduce the clutter of things that I don't need. Now, to the right of that are specific settings for discipline. For example, my structural settings. This is where I can set the representation, my load cases, combinations, and other analytical structural settings for how structure and its elements will perform inside of Revit. Below that is a drop-down for my mechanical and electrical settings holding the same types of information. There's also factors and load classifications here as well, specific to these two disciplines. Below that, I have Manage Template and Edit Template settings. Now, these templates are related to the different types of mechanical systems that you could apply. So I can create different types of templates for data or switchboard branch, i.e. electrical systems in this case. And to the right of that is a drop-down that says Additional Settings. This really is where a lot of your CAD standards are housed or controlled. So these are your fill patterns, your analysis display styles, your line weights, your line styles, line patterns, the sun settings if you're doing a sun or a solar study, your different tags, the different tag formats, arrows, dimension styles. So this is where all of this would be contained. To the right of that is your project location information. So this is where I could set the project location by its city and state, or I could enter in longitude and latitude, even set the weather conditions for that given time, day, or month of the year. You also can redefine coordinates of how the coordinates are managed or the position of the project if you're using shared coordinates. Now, over to the right is an area for managing the project where you can manage links, elements that are linked into this project, so other CAD files, other image files. You also have icons to the right of that for managing those images, managing decals, even setting what view you'd like to open when you start the Revit project. And then you have phasing. Phasing is the ability to set up different phases to actually plan a project of how this building would be built. For example, demolition, new construction, phase 1, phase 2, floor 1, floor 2, different names you could use for your phases. And then you can assign different parts of the building to those phases and actually see that in a timeline. You also have phase filters, and then you can even add in graphic overrides based on your phases. And the last several panels contain icons for basically editing selections, inquiries, or also customizing and recording macros to do automated tasks for you inside of Revit. So, as a review, we looked at and discussed project information. A project information could be the name of the project, the city, the state, the address, or it could be all the settings that go into the physical Revit project. Now, all of this is defined on the Manage tab on your ribbon. We looked at the various settings for materials, for project information, for line types, line weights. We even looked at specific settings for disciplines, such as structural settings, mechanical, electrical. Then we looked at the project location by defining a city or state, or longitude or latitude. And then we finally looked at managing project information such as managing links of other images or decals, project phasing, and then the icons for modifying selections, inquiries, or even recording macros.